Howdy doody buckaroonies, and welcome back to another episode of videos I didn't plan on filming but sat down and figured might as well. I've been sitting here editing a pretty big video like all day, so I decided to take a little bit of a break and play around with my Novation Peak. I was making a patch and it occurred to me there was something that I don't know that I've talked about on this channel all that much that is a pretty important and easy way to make some more interesting synth patches. This whole video also stems from something I noticed a couple of months ago when I was working on a client project, and I grabbed a whole bunch of different synthesizer banks to use as reference material, and it stuck out to me as odd that more synth patches and more synth banks don't make use of this, because it's something that's pretty simple and is available in pretty much every synthesizer and is just a way to make patches a bit more fun and expressive, I think. So hopefully this video inspires you a little bit and gives you a couple ideas to run off and make some more interesting patches for your next track. Here we are with the lovely Novation Peak. Now, I just want to preface this whole thing by saying why I think this is so important, I think actually stems from my background playing guitar for so long. Guitars, as you probably know, are a pretty expressive instrument. There's lots of different subtleties and movements and lots of different ways to go about playing them and whatnot. So when I first got into synthesizers, I thought it was weird that there wasn't as much expression, at least on the surface, and it took me a while to understand how to get more mileage out of a synth. And today, I wanted to share with you, I guess, one of my kind of secret sauce things that I think you should be using in every patch, because it's extremely powerful and makes synths just feel a bit more alive and interactive. Let's kick things off here with an initialized patch, and we've just got our standard saw wave. So the big secret, I think, is velocity, and immediately you might think, well, velocity is just targeting the amplifier, right? So we can play soft or we can play loud. But velocity is an extremely powerful modulation, and I think it's incredibly useful in synthesizers to make your patches more dynamic and alive and interesting and respond to the way you play, much like you would with a piano or a guitar or even a human voice or something along those lines. It just brings out this extra layer to make your synths feel like a real instrument and not just a patch, if that makes any kind of sense. I mean, the mod matrix in and of itself is always a great thing to access, but I think velocity is one of the most useful things you can use. So right now we've got it just with the amplifier, but let's take a look at a couple of other ways we could expand on this. First off, I'm gonna just drop the filter down a bit. Maybe we'll add just a touch of resonance there. And within the mod matrix, one of the first things we could do is maybe set velocity to target the filter cutoff. And this is probably something you've done before. So we can get quiet notes that are darker and louder notes that are a bit brighter. Let's maybe make that a bit more drastic. And now we can play something and since this is a polyphonic synthesizer and velocity is polyphonic, we get different colors to each note of whatever we're playing. Along with some movement in volume, but we can go well beyond this. Let's maybe do something like a wavetable here for oscillator 1, and then we'll do some FM. Why not? Let's go into the mod matrix and pop over to velocity and set this to do FM of oscillator 3 into oscillator 1. It's one of these damn things in here. There it is, right there. So let's bring that up, and I'm going to set this to be a wavetable as well. Why not? I don't really know what one we'll go for. Sure, chords is a good one. Let's do that back in the mod matrix and adjust the depth of the FM using velocity. Let's maybe take that up and maybe tune it up a fifth or something. Maybe we'll go back down and try a couple different wavetables. There's got to be a good one in there. Like the sound of that. So let's drop the depth of that so it's not so extreme. Bring that filter back down and add another layer of velocity movement here. So velocity, and let's target maybe the filter distortion so we get a bit more grit out of aggressive notes. Now let's add velocity again. And how about we target the filter FM from oscillator 3. And we can get a lot of additional movement going on here. Let's do maybe the shape amount here. So let's have velocity targeting the shape of oscillator 3, which is going to be another one of these damn things in here somewhere, right there. So the timbre of the FM is going to be affected by velocity now because it's controlling the wavetable. Let's maybe offset that with a little bit of fine tuning. Cool. And let's have LFO1 control the shape of oscillator 1. Let's experiment with that a bit. And then we could have maybe the mod envelope target the speed of LFO1. So something about like maybe that should be good. Don't want it to get... There we go. So let's move that mod envelope a bit. But now let's control the amount of that happening by way of velocity. Let's move this filter stuff around just a little bit. I'm gonna add some envelope to the filter too. Changing that to something like maybe a sample and hold might be a bit more interesting. Let's add some movement. Maybe sort of turn this into more of a pad. Let's add a little bit of a good old delay and some of that lovely peak reverb. Let's bring in oscillator 2. Add some extra bit of sauce to the oscillators here. Maybe just a hint of noise. Let's maybe tweak a few of these. Add some filter movement with LFO1 as well. Kind of like that sample and hold there, though. Too ahead of ourselves. And now we've got a nice expressive patch with just a little bit of movement from velocity. Something pretty simple, but something really useful. move that LFO movement to oscillator 3. So that's it. This is a kind of a quick thing, but I hope it's useful and hopefully inspires you a little bit to experiment with all that Velocity can offer, because it's a polyphonic expression that works in any synthesizer that offers it as something you can use inside of the mod matrix. The mod matrix is always something you should get familiar with, and adding any kind of modulation and movement and expression you can to a synth patch will really help it come to life and feel a lot more exciting and fun to use, and I think help it stand out a bit more in your productions, because it's not just a static patch, it's not just a static element, it's a thing that exists in a world and is alive and breathing and reactive and imparts maybe a bit more character and emotion into everything that you're doing in your track, whatever role the sound may be serving. So I guess that's a wrap on this one. This has been your boy Ambient James with the lovely Novation Peak here. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something, and as always, I hope this inspires you to get out there and make something awesome.